Hello, this is Tori. Video 4. I made one earlier today about how to access Udemy for free training, and this one is going to be what I really wanted to talk about today. So I decided to make that a separate video rather than conflate with what we were talking about in the previous one. And that is about what I think is going to be wrong with Doge. This kept me up at night. I was tossing and turning because it appears that there's going to be some difference of opinion on how we should approach IT going forward. And I think now I have a good insight as to why these CEOs, these oligarchs of the big tech companies, are making their way down to Mar-a-Lago. And that is to get into the head of the incoming president about how America needs all these H-1B folks. It's just pure nonsense. It's pure nonsense. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to career fairs here locally and see a bevy of folks. All the times I have to hear a statement that we have so many cyber positions that are open, but not the talent to fill it. We don't have the talent to fill all these open positions. Can we stop with that mess? If people can come here and learn from our professors and then get jobs, what's that to say for the American citizen? And if their talent is so great, why do American citizens have to train them? Disney did that. They walked engineers into an office with HR reps and their managers and told them, this is your last day, but we'll give you a severance if you stick around and train your replacement for a fraction of your pay. If you do not, today's your last day, pack your stuff. That's just plain immoral. And I can barely contain my fury. I wish I were standing up so I could really get to it, but I think this is a wrong move. I've been in IT for about 29 and a half years. I have a security clearance. I've mentioned that in other videos. When I go up for a job that requires a security clearance, do you know who I'm competing against? Other citizens. That's it, pretty much. I think the same thing should be happening in the private sector. At this point, I don't really care if I get a job in using the clearance or not. I just want to get off the sidelines, get back to work, and use the talent that I have. I don't want to rust out. But somehow we've gotten in our heads that, and the reason why I said this is a problem with Doge is that both Elon Musk, who I'm learning was an H-1B person himself, and Vivek Ramaswamy have both touted the idea that we need to have more of that. And the president's AI czars is saying the same thing. We need to remove the limits on H-1B visas. I've heard the president in an interview say, well, President Trump say in an interview, because of AI, we can't get left behind. We need to have more immigrants. This nation is the nation that created the assembly line, allowing the average American to have an automobile in their family, in their driveway. And Vivek said, when we honor the prom queen or king and the captain of the football team and the cheerleaders more than we honor the valedictorian who wants to study tech, then we end up having mediocrity. Well, shame on him. Shame on him. Cheerleaders and football players have always been popular in high school. Yet in the 60s, we still put a man on the moon with American citizens. And in the 80s, we had the space shuttle program. Yeah, the space shuttle Challenger blew up. Who was in it? American citizens. Their lives were on the line for that exploration. It's Americans that created flight. We were first in flight, right? The Wright brothers. So don't tell me we don't have the ingenuity to keep tech going. The big tech companies, most of them were founded by American citizens. I don't know how well a video like this is going to go over because YouTube is owned by Google, by Alphabet, and they're one of the people that are making their way down to Mar-a-Lago. It's no secret that the Google folks were not pro-Trump in 2016. There's that video going around about how they said we can't allow this to happen again. So I hope the President Trump is not getting swindled in this. I don't see how you can accomplish his agenda and this thing about H-1Bs at the same time. I went to a career fair at the Texas Rangers Stadium. It was really hard to park because there were so many people going there. And there should not have been that many people out of work. Citizens. A lot of representation was there from the federal government. Many people standing in line with their resume wanting to talk to somebody face to face. And do you know what we had to hear over and over again? The best thing you can do, Mr. and Mrs. Job Seeker, is to go to our website, go to our careers page, because that's where all the jobs are. Hey, we already know how to do that. We already know how to do that. Why are you here face to face telling us to go to your website? We came here to have some human interaction. Some people brought physical resumes with them. Some of them had a way that I had physical, and I had a QR code that people could scan and go directly to my resume. I went there to talk to someone face to face. I know a business owner who said he never didn't get a job when he had a face-to-face interview. And I got to tell you, I haven't had one since 2017. Maybe that's part of the problem. The human element's gone outside of these cameras. We have got to stop this. If overseas talent is so great, why do they have to come to our universities to learn? It's just, it made me toss and turn, man. I have some hope for 2025. I think some things are going to get better, but I remember Ted Cruz, when he was running for president in 2016, he said, if the people coming across the border were a bunch of lawyers and politicians, he's pretty sure the people in Washington, D.C. would do something about the border. But the stereotype is that they're just migrant workers coming across the border and taking jobs that people wouldn't want to do. Well, when you have people flying in from other countries and you're flim-flamming the American people with this legal maneuver to give them these visas, then they're taking the jobs of middle-class workers who've gone to college to study tech. I didn't study tech. I studied electrical engineering, but I got into tech, my first job out of college. Do you think the medical community would allow this? The American Medical Association would allow, oh yeah, just flood in more and more doctors into our field. And we don't care if it's going to lower the price that we have on our services. We don't care if some of us are out of work as a result. You think the American Bar Association would allow that? Yeah, just have more and more lawyers come over here. We'll give them H-1B visas because there's not enough of us to keep our legal system running. We need to import folks. Americans aren't having enough children of their own. We're not replacing ourselves, so we need to import more people. Well, create incentives for people to have bigger families. Create incentives for people to get married and stay married. It's not that hard. They just don't want to do it. This is not MAGA-esque. This is more of the Republican establishment bull jive that we've seen before. And I hope that someone like J.D. Vance, he doesn't come from wealth. He, if I recall, was roommates or friends with Vivek at Yale Law School. He knows what can happen to a town when the core employers leave that town. I think he was, in Hillbilly Elegy, he came from a town that had manufacturing roots, and when that left, what it did to the people. America is a better place when we have a thriving middle class, and it is shrinking as a result of stuff like this. I was lack-jawed in August when I went to that career fair at the Texas Ranger Stadium, and I came across a man who had been looking for work since January. That was 8 months. I've been looking for something full-time since April, so now I'm in that position 8, 9 months. It's insulting to hear we got all these job openings, but we don't have the talent to fill it. Hey, I've had a CISSP, Certified Information Systems Security Professional certification since 2010, 15 years. And you had to have 5 years of experience in cyber in order to even sit for that exam. I'm Cisco Certified Network Professional, Cisco Certified Design Professional. I'm a Splunk Enterprise Certified Architect and admin and power user and core user. And I'm out of work. I've got something coming up that might be a few weeks, some freelance work that'll help alleviate the pain of the big property tax bill that's coming up next month. But as I mentioned yesterday, there are quite a few houses for sale around me, and none of the houses around me are older than 3 years. So I'm wondering, are people having a hard time paying their property taxes and insurance? As I mentioned, a friend, his insurance went up almost 3 times what it was before. Can you imagine? It shouldn't cost $2 to buy 1 apple. It shouldn't cost $2 to buy 1 tomato. That's the world we're living in. And I don't see how it's going to change by saying, by doing to the IT community what we think we've done to agriculture. And by that I mean diluting it with folks who aren't American first. They may come and have some allegiance. I'm not anti-foreigners. I went to school with many of them myself, which is why I understand their English. Going to North Carolina State University and North Carolina A&T State University for grad school. Many of my peers were Asian Indian or from Pakistan, or I remember a guy from China. I understand their English, but do you think if I went to their nations, they would do this for me? I know in the Philippines, if you're in a car accident, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. You're the American. It's going to be your fault because it's Filipino first. Can we be American first? We're the ones that helped build this nation. Don't tell me that a company that gets started by American citizens, Apple started by American citizens, Microsoft started by American citizens, Netflix, Amazon started by American citizens, Facebook started by American citizens. I don't know the genesis of NVIDIA. I do know that Google was started by folks who, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, who I believe were foreign exchange students. Like I said, because of that, who knows what's going to happen to this video or my account. That I'm coming out so hard, coming out strong, coming in strong for being anti this idea. Again, I do not think we would be allowing this if there were a bunch of doctors coming in to our nation, or a bunch of lawyers or politicians. No, just bring the IT people in to dilute all these folks who've been studying it in our nation. Again, if they're so qualified, if they're so much better, why do they have to come here and get trained by our universities? And then go to companies like Disney and have those people train their replacements. Tyson, they're basically a sanctuary company He said, yeah, come here if you're illegal. We're a sanctuary company. It's hard to have your own personal boycotts of these companies because they got their hands in everything. I didn't like that about Tyson. I also didn't like a story that I read that they're starting their own plant where they're going to be processing bug meat, insect meat. And that made me uneasy that there's going to be some cross-contamination. So in my head, I said, well, I'm not going to buy Tyson stuff. But sure enough, when I looked at the label of the bacon I make, the bacon that I buy, it's from Tyson. What's my other choice? Smithfield, owned by China. I'm tired of it. Where, yeah, one of my favorite men's stores, it's out of business now, but it's called Back Rack. Really nice clothes there in the early 2000s. By the mid 2000s, everything's made in China. I would get stuff made in Italy. And you could actually sit down in a pair of slacks, wool slacks that you got from there, stand up, and it didn't look wrinkled. All of a sudden, the wool changed. I'm like, are the sheep different in China? Where are they getting this wool where I sit down, stand up, and it looks like I need to iron my pants again? The price didn't go down. And all the shirts, I was a medium at the time, all the shirts that I would buy from them, they fit nicely when the stuff was made in America or Italy. But then when they got to be made in China, all of a sudden a medium, the sleeves are 3 inches shorter. So I couldn't shop there anymore unless I went up a size. It makes it hard to shop through a catalog or online when there's no real true size. It all depends on where it's made. I remember a time when I bought some Adidas little clogs or like slippers, same size, but one was made in like Indonesia, another was made in like Vietnam. And I put them side by side. They're both size 12. One was clearly bigger than the other. We know how to make things here. We know we need to get back to doing that. And we can't get back to doing that if we think that we're incapable unless we bring in foreign talent. And I guess as Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that. Talk to you next time.